Okay, we are live. Bismillah, alhamdulillahi, rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to another Muslim Morning podcast. I'm your host Ismail Howell. And once again, we're with our Sheikh Maria Tucker. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Okay, so we have, mashallah, done a series of podcasts around Islam and what is Islam, and last time we spoke about faith, and now we want to actually get into the practicalities of Islam, i.e. talk about the 5 pillars. So someone basically, they were thinking about Islam, or they're ready to take their Shahada, and they're now saying to themselves, okay, what is Islam? What do I have to do now that I am either thinking about taking the Shahada or I've taken my Shahada? In fact, what we should do is, if we just quickly go over the Shahada, the implication of the Shahada, and then we go into the Salah and we see how much, how we end up. So we reached the stage last week where someone's thinking about faith, or they have enough faith, enough belief to say, I'm ready to take my Shahada. What is the Shahada? And what does a person have to do to enter into Islam?
Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulihil Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. So the Shahada is, you could say, the key, the doorway into Islam. And like I mentioned in previous engagements of us, I mentioned that Islam, to a non-Muslim, especially a non-Muslim looking into Islam, considering Islam is essentially a locked door, and they have a vague idea of what's behind that door, but they have no real idea what really is behind that door. Meaning, they know that Muslims do this and do that and do this and do that, but they don't know how that would manifest in their lives and how that would enhance or not their lives. So it's a big ambiguity, which is why many people are apprehensive. Should I do or should I not do? Because normally, no one deep down really wants to just. It's not like you get a 15-day trial period.
Yes, it's a big commitment.
It's a big commitment. So, but Islam, alhamdulillah, Allah's made it easy for us, and also Allah's given us encouragement. So, what encouragement has Allah given us? Allah has told us that al-Islam yajubu ma qablahu. Islam removes what came before it. So if you did have sins or actions or behaviors or mannerisms that was counter to the message of al-Islam, or basically considered to be sinful, unrighteous behavior, and maybe a person is wondering, how is that going to affect my Islam? Well, Islam wipes it off, clean, finish. Whatever happened in that period is not factored. It's null and void. And ironically, we actually see a similar situation, not exactly the same, but a similar situation with the same ideology or the same ethos. So in Islam, obviously, Islam has Islamic law, judicial law, government law, so law on the land. And if a person, for example, was a serial criminal, as in committing crimes, like they call it highway robber, qati'u tariq, like something like that, or someone who is doing serial crimes, it's possible for the leader to waiver his previous sins if he comes in and surrenders. Now, why would that be a case in Islam? How could Islam allow such a thing? Well, because he's doing it right. That's his day job. I mean, his job is to go out and commit fasad, commit corruption. If he comes in, admits, demonstrates his errors, rectifies whatever he can do, and we promise we won't punish him. We won't, take off a limb or execute him for anything he's done seriously that requires it. And we say, look, if you do this, you can have your life back. That's incentive to come. That's incentive to stop your evil. And it's the same thing. So therefore, because if you look at the flip side, if I say to you, yeah, it's good for you to surrender, because if you surrender, so if you don't surrender, when we find you, we're going to punish you badly. But if you don't, but if you do surrender, we're also going to punish you, but maybe not as bad. Then you might be thinking to yourself, why surrender then? At the end of the day, because I'm damned either way. I might as well just continue what I'm doing. I mean, at least now I'm free. At least now I can do what I want to do.
Yes.
And all I have to do is evade capture. Whereas in Islam, it says, actually, no, we can waiver it. You can have your life back, and as long as you just stop it. And actually, ironically, we see that actually happen today. So near the time of the September 11th, and even the 90s, I think, the Saudi had a bit of an issue with some of the youth getting involved in terrorism and bombing and that kind of stuff, and all that kind of spreading their ideology of terrorism. Well, not ideology, we call it Khawarij, but spreading the ideology of the Khawarij, i.e. those who kill people indiscriminately and have these ideologies. Anyway, they had an issue. It wasn't a big issue because it wasn't like a massive number, but as you know, these kind of crimes, you don't need a large number of people to do it. You only need one or two. So they had an issue where it was happening. And they basically made an announcement. I was there. They made an announcement. Whoever comes in and surrenders and stops, we won't take it further. Basically, we get rehabilitation. We'll help you. We'll sort you out. And they did. So some of them who came, they surrendered. They were taken in, obviously questioned or whatnot. They were housed. They were, funded to get themselves into employment. They said, look, come in and we'll help you sort your life out. And they did.
Yeah.
So likewise, in Islam, it's the same kind of situation. If a person has admitted that nobody's worthy of worship but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, they believe that in their heart, but they haven't actually testified that on their tongue, meaning that Allah knows what they believe, but we don't know what they believe. So if they accept this and say the Shahada, then all of the previous sins, every single thing, will be wiped away. Ironically, that same thing, actually, in a way, Shaitan came to me and made me delay my Islam, because I thought, okay, as long as I don't take a Shahada, then I could technically continue certain things I'm doing or eating certain food I'm eating, and then later on I'll take Shahada. But that's a deception, because no one knows when one person is going to die, when they're going to meet their end. So the Shahada, what is the Shahada? All it is a statement. There's no baptism. There's no immersion in water. There's no rites of passage where you have to go and climb a mountain and skydive off a bridge. No, you just literally say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness that nobody is worthy worship Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is a messenger of Allah. We say that to a Muslim who witnesses that and will become a witness for you on this world and the Day of Judgment. So that's it. Once a person has done that, they are now Muslim.
So someone should, if they're thinking about Islam, should they go to a mosque and say to the Imam, basically, I want to become Muslim? The Imam will then basically explain the basis of Islam, and then they will take Shahada, 5 or 10 minutes. And now that person is a Muslim. So
what they should do is go to a Muslim. It doesn't have to be a masjid. It could go to a Muslim. And make the Shahada. And the reason why, some might ask, okay, well, why do I need to? I can just believe. I can just say it right now. And I'm Muslim. Yeah, you probably could. But as anyone who has accepted Islam would testify and tell you, there is something about saying that to someone else.
Yes.
It's not just, it's just a sentence. It doesn't mean anything. It means a lot, because there are many people who can't say it. You say to them, say it, and you can see
they can't say
it, but they can't say it. And this is actually one of the, I don't know how you want to take it. I mean, I take it as a sign, but I take it as one of the signs of the reality of Islam, how Islam is actually a true religion. Because if it was just nothingness, like a nothing burger, why would it be so difficult just to say a sentence? It's just a sentence. It's just literally Abu Talib, the uncle of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, who knew Islam was true. He even supported his nephew against the idolaters of Quraysh in Mecca at the time, Messenger of Allah. Even he couldn't bring himself to say it. And it's his own language. It was just to say what he already said in his head, what he already said in other words. He even said a poem. He said, there's no religion better than the religion of Islam. He said that in a poem he made. But yet to say the Shahada, he couldn't say it.
Yes.
So people might say it's a small thing, but it's a big thing.
It's not. When it's connected to, when you're sincere, it's connected to the heart, Normally, it brings people to tears. It's a big event. Normally, they never really actually
It's a
forget
big
that
event.
day.
It's a big event. It's not a small thing. It's a big thing. Anyone says, "Oh, it's a minor," then I'd have to question: was you really even sincere in saying that?
Yes.
It's not a
Or did
small
you
thing. It's a
understand the
huge thing.
implications of it?
Exactly. So the
Yeah.
implications of it, saying it, having Muslims show the reaction. I mean, you know, I mean, to give an example, I was in the center right here. And then you
Yeah.
guys might see, we're in the center here in the coffee shop and whatnot. So we're in the center, and we had a woman come in, walk by, and she's a black woman. She came in and said, "Oh, what is this place? Is it a school? It looks like a coffee shop. What is going on?" I said, "Yeah, we have
Yes.
Islamic studies here, but also we have like a little mini coffee shop." And said, "Oh," and I was telling her about the stuff, but what goes on in the center. And I said to her, just being blunt, "Have you thought about Islam for yourself? You know?" And
Yes.
she's a bit taken back and said, "Not really. I mean, tell me about Islam." And I told her about Islam.
Mm.
And after I gave her a brief, nothing like our discussion, like an hour, like 10 minutes of explaining to her what Islam is, I said, "Do you want to accept Islam?"
Mm.
I mean, how do I do that? I said, "You just say the Shahada." And I told her the sentence you say. I explained what it meant, and she said, "Okay, go on, let's do it." And she did it.
MashaAllah.
Wallahi, as she said those sentences, she burst in tears. She was uncontrollable emotion. She came in just wondering what is this place, and then she said the Shahada, and all a rush of emotions just came out. She was in tears. She was crying. My sister-in-law who was there, she gave her a hug. Said, "Don't cry." She said, "Oh, this is so emotional." She said, "Amazing." I'm like, "Bro, she just came out to a coffee shop. New life." It was just a sentence. So those who say that it means nothing, they don't understand. It means a lot. And if it means nothing, then say it then. But everyone knows it doesn't mean nothing. It means a lot. It means a lot. Likewise, the opposite. And the joke is the opposite becomes true as well. If a person accepts Islam and says the Shahada, and how massive that statement is, saying statements of kufr becomes even more painful. It's like, bro, it's like you can't say those words, man.
You can't.
You can't even say it. Even when sometimes when I explain things to people and I say to people what other people say, even just repeating what they say,
it's hard.
Just to say that's what they say, bro, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because words, as Muslims, this is the thing. Muslims are not just lip service. It's not just just an idea. It's actions on the limbs and the statements on the tongue, and both statements and actions mean things in this world.
Excellent. So this person, the mashallah, that's taken the Shahada, and obviously they've been explained to them the pillars of Islam. One of the fundamental pillars of Islam is the Salah, is the prayer. If you can go through one, why is the prayer so important in Islam? I mean, generally, someone takes the Shahada, they think now, oh, I've got so many things I've got to do. I've got to pray, I've got to fast. Once someone takes a Shahada, what should their mindset be in regards to the actions that they must now? Because people say, oh, I can't change, I can't pray, I can't fast. What's the kind of mindset that a new Muslim should have after they've taken their Shahada in regards to implementing the pillars of Islam?
So, when it comes to Islam, just the phrase you mentioned there says a lot about a person's frame, how they frame the situation. Oh, I've got a lot of things to now do. They see in Islam as more like a chore and a ritual. And that's the wrong frame. When a person learns about Islam, discovers that Islam comes from Allah, discovers the truth of our existence, then they also discover that they have a purpose. There's a reason for their existence. There's a function that they place on planet Earth. Just like a phone, its function is to communicate with the world. Our lives has a function. And when you accept Islam, when you say the Shahada, you are acknowledging that function, and you are essentially saying, I want to fulfill that function. I want to be a phone. As if I was made to be a phone, I want to be a phone.
Yeah.
If I was made to be a car, I want to be a car. So you want to fulfill the function. Now, if you see it as a chore, then that's a different frame. You're seeing the world as your playground to do what you want. And on the side, I will do these things that I've been told to do because I've been told to do it. But it's not, you haven't seen those acts as you fulfilling your function. Let me give you an example. Our part of our function on planet Earth is to help the needy. As in, we are a community, we are a nation of people, mankind, and we are supposed to help each other fulfill our roles and our function. You can almost say, like, if you look at a system like a pulley and a lever, a pulley, the rope on the pulley, on a winch, the rope has one function and the winch has another function. They both work together to lift up something else. They both all do different parts, but they lift each other. They all work together to fulfill a function. And that's essentially what we do. We all are supposed to fulfill a function. And if one piece of the system is faltering or is wavering or is weak or needs help and aid, we're supposed to help that happen, because if I help someone else, then we as a collective are better at fulfilling that function. So therefore, you would want to help him out to fulfill our purpose and our function. So therefore, there wouldn't really be an idea of, oh, we'll have so much things to do, because those things you're supposed to do fulfills that function, and it fulfills that aim that you want to materialize. You want the world to be a better place. You want people to be happier. You want to have families that are wholesome and productive and filled with love and compassion. You want these things, and Islam tells you to achieve these things. These are the paths you must take to get to that goal. So it's not really, you shouldn't really see these acts as chores and rituals. You should see these acts as paths one must take to achieve the ultimate goal of happiness in this life and the next. So it should be actually, the frame should be the opposite. It should be, oh wait, what's next to do to get me on this path? Where should I go next to get there? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the issue
same
of
thing like Amazon, like if you do like an online business, you want to make money for online business. You don't say to yourself, oh, I've got to now buy product. I've got to now take product photos, and I've got to write a description of the item. Oh, what a chore I have to do to it. No, you'd be like, great, I want to get a nice camera, get a nice shot. You're excited about doing this thing because you want to get the goal of making money.
Yes. So when people are looking at the rights of worship, the issues of worship, I mean, one is what I'm trying to get at is not to burden yourself that you have to learn everything in one day. Rather, take your time and get involved in Islam. It's not like you.
Yes, again, if you look at the same analogy, as work, again, even if it comes to work, imagine you want to start a business. You don't just do every single thing on the first day. You first learn. If you go to anyone, business consultant, they'll say to you, first write a business plan.
Yeah.
It's the first thing you do. Write a business plan. Log down what you have, what you want to achieve, and write down a path of how you reckon you're going to achieve that. That's the first thing you must do. And in Islam, our business plan is our Salah, our prayer.
Yes.
That's the first thing you must do. There's no point in doing anything else until you've got the Salah on check. And that's why we have a hadith or a statement of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said that on the Day of Judgment, the first of the deeds that will be weighed or accounted for will be the prayer, the Salah, the prayer. If the prayer is correct and it's supposed to be done, then Allah will look all the rest of the actions. But if it's not, if it falls short, then the rest won't even looked at. So the point is that our business, you can say the business plan or business plan of a Muslim, after they've decided to do this business, i.e. the Shahada, is now to do the Salah. And again, we have an example of Messenger of Allah, where a man came to the Messenger and said, oh, Messenger of Allah, if all I did was pray the 5 daily prayers, I did nothing more, is that sufficient? He said sufficient. But if you did more, it'd be better for you. So if you just did the 5 daily prayers, that would be enough for you as the absolute bare minimum. And that's the beauty of Islam. Islam doesn't just tell you do everything. Islam has a large range, but it does have a bottom level. It has a base. Once you have this base, and from this base level, you have all of this, you can elevate yourself to higher status. But this is the base level. Anything below that doesn't work. You need to first fulfill the base level, being the Shahada and the prayer, the Salah. Once you've established these two, then you can build and build as time goes on. So therefore, one needs to first learn how to pray.
What would you say is the fundamental reason why we pray and the benefit that the Muslim gets from the prayer? What we say is the fundamental reason why we pray, and the benefits that we get from it.
The benefits of the salah or the prayer are so many to enumerate. I'd probably take up the rest of the whole session, but to be brief, I would say I mean, for me, looking at from my perspective, and I guess many perspective of many Christians in might be listening to this as well, who are similar background. The idea is that we want to worship Allah. Christians, on the other hand, they worship Allah, and also they worship other things, like they worship Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So they have this 3-month thing, but they worship Allah. So in Islam, and also they have some of the Christians, not all. So I have this idea that there's intermediaries. We can't go to the Father; they have to go through the Son. So the idea of intermediaries. And also maybe even some other people, other religions had this idea of intermediaries or intercessors, people between us and the Creator. We have to go to this person who is a righteous person or is the son of Allah, or whatever they want to say. We have to go through in order to get to the top. Whereas Islam is not this. It flies in the face of that ideology. Islam says no. If you want to worship Allah direct. No need to go through anyone else. Not even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't go through him. That's why we're not called Muhammadans, as the Christians like to call us. Because Muhammadans.
Yeah.
We're not Muhammadans because we don't worship Muhammad. We worship Allah. So the salah, the prayer, is your direct connection to Allah. You've just said there's nothing worthy of worship but Allah. So therefore, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to worship Allah directly in salah. There is no form of the salah where you're worshipping someone else. You recite the Quran, you are making dua, you are supplicating to Allah, you're bowing to Allah, you're putting your head down on the ground towards Allah. That is your connection to Allah. And that's why I said the Shahada is your way of submitting your will. You're submitting yourself to Allah verbally, whereas the Salah is submitting your will to Allah, submitting yourself to Allah physically. So first, there's the belief in your heart. The first step, I believe in here. But now we say, okay, manifest that on your tongue, the Shahada. Okay, great. Now manifest that on your limbs, the Salah. And then after that, we're going to talk about other, which is the Zakat. We say, okay, now you manifested Islam in your heart, on your tongue, and your limbs. Now manifest it in your money by paying a small portion of your saved money to the poor and so on and so forth. So these, you could say, are stages of submission to Allah as your base level, and then obviously you can build on that with extra stuff later on. But that's basically what it is. So Salah is I would say your opportunity to speak to Allah, to converse to Allah, to plead to Allah your needs. And so on and so forth.
Is the prayer kind of divided into two parts? There's one aspect which is praising Allah, thanking Allah for whatever He's given you. How can you say the issue of praising Allah on one side, and then the other side seeking your needs, whether it be seeking help in issues of asking Allah for economic issues, helping with family issues, relying upon Him, seeking His aid. So the prayer is kind of broken down into two. One is the praise of Allah for what He has given you, His bounties, and on the other side the issue of seeking help from Him, relying upon Him, etc.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why in every unit of our prayer, we recite what's called the first chapter of the Quran, Surah Fatiha, which basically is what you just described. We say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, of mankind, of the jinn, of the angels. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, still praising Allah. He is the most merciful, the one who bestows mercy. Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner and the king of the Day of Judgment. And we further praise Him by acknowledging our action. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You alone we worship, and you alone we seek help. We seek help. And then once we've finished praising and exalting Allah and acknowledging who Allah is to us, then we turn towards asking Allah for our need. And the most important need of all is guide us to the straight path. So this is essentially worship. Worship of Allah is two things.
This is the
exalting
worship.
Allah, praising Allah, because by praising Allah, we are acknowledging Allah. This is the thing. People don't understand. They think that sometimes they think praising Allah is what Allah wants from us, because I mean it is what Allah wants, but as in Allah needs from us. It's not that Allah needs our praise.
Yes.
We need to praise Allah. There's difference. Allah doesn't need our praise. If we didn't do anything, it hasn't decreased anything. As Allah said, if we were the worst of mankind, or if all of us was the worst of everything, it won't decrease in anything. That's not in Allah needs us, but we need Allah. So by praising Allah and acknowledging Allah, that does so many things to us. It removes our arrogance. It removes our haughtiness. It removes the perception that we do anything, that we control anything. But we're weak. We're nothing.
Yes.
He's the one who is the King of the Judgment. He's the one who is the one who gives mercy. He's the one who deserves praise, not me or you. So if I've gone to work and I've earned massive amounts of money in one day, I mean, think about it. You work on some business and you get paid like, I think I saw some YouTube video. How much does Jeff Bezos get? You've seen that one already. You must see
per hour or something.
Per hour, some ridiculous amount of money like $100,000 per hour or whatever.
Yeah.
So imagine that's it. Imagine you're Jeff Bezos. Yeah, just imagine you're Jeff Bezos and you're making some obscene amounts of money every hour, and then you get your prayer mat, you put it on the floor, and then you basically praise Allah and acknowledge that everything comes from Him. You are making money, but you are saying that everything comes from Him. That basically all this money come to Him, can't come to you, is because Allah allowed it to come to you. But Allah gave it to you. That's you acknowledging who you are and bringing yourself down to your level that you should be at, and humbling yourself. So you need to praise Allah and whatnot. And then after that, we ask Allah for further help in this dunya, to make this world not a test for us, make this world a means for us, our hereafter, and so on and so forth. So this is why we praise Allah. This is what we need to do on a daily basis, and we need to do it regularly, because mankind forgets.
Yes.
Mankind forgets.
Yes.
We say today, yes, Allah deserves to be praised, and then by the end of the evening, we're doing sin again, because we often need reminder. We need a constant reminder, and that's why it's almost impossible to combine between the prayer and fahisha and illicit and serious major sin, because praying 5 times a day makes it almost impossible to sin so regularly.
So that's an excellent point. The fact that the prayer would also stop you from committing major sins or going places where you shouldn't go, because I have to pray at this particular time. I can't go this place or that place. So the prayer is doubly important also from stopping you returning back to kufr or returning back to jahiliyyah, or doing the things that you used to do. The importance of establishing the salah for your own salvation, I think is key, because obviously
it's your daily reminder 5 times a day of who you are and what's more important. That's a key point. What's more important? Because essentially, if you're praying 5 times a day, not only are you acknowledging Allah's dominion, control, and all the rest of it, also you're taking that time out of your day to do it. So you're stopping what you would normally do, and you're doing that instead. You're playing your games, and you put it down. You're watching your TV, and you put it down. You're doing your work, but you put it down. Everything you normally would do, you do, but then when it comes time to pray, you stop it, you pray to Allah, and then you return back to your work. So that, again, in itself as well, gives you that sense of priority as well. You're praying 5 times a day, irregardless of what I would normally be doing. I stop it, and I pray. That establishes in your mind, there's a priority here. There are things that are more important than what I'm doing. This is why it's very important for us to encourage our children that when it's time to pray, put the games down and pray. Because if they already get that in their head that I need to pray, even though the game's on, that means the salah is more important than my game. If they can't put the game down until they finish that level they're on, then they'll pray. Then they've said to themselves, this game is more important than my salah.
So is this, you could say, a deal breaker, something that could make it easy for you to leave Islam if you leave the salah? Is it a slippery slope that if someone cannot prioritize the salah, it is something that could end up with the person leaving Islam?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've read and heard many testimonials from people who had lost their way, after becoming Muslim, they practice Islam, and then along the path, they lost their way and fell into the old life before returning back to Islam. Almost all of them stated that the first step that led them that way was not stop praying. That was literally the thing that when they stopped, everything else opened up for them. That's the gateway. That's the deal breaker. That's the as the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-ahdu alladhi baynana baynahum as-salah wa man tarakahu faqad kafar." The contract, the difference between us and non-believers is the salah. Whoever leaves it has committed kufr. So this is.
I think that when you look at it that way, like you know, people say, "Oh, I've got to pray 5 times a day." You know, it's so difficult, but that salah is what's going to keep you Muslim. Is going to keep your faith. It's not that, oh, we're praying to Allah because He needs us to pray to Him. Rather, we need to remind ourselves we need to keep our faith, and that salah is our protector. It's not necessarily that Allah needs us to pray.
Yeah. And again, like I said, that statement that they say, oh, praying salah is so much to pray. Again, they haven't recognized what the salah does for them. It's not that the salah is a chore and a ritual. Again, if you see things as a ritual, things you just do because you're told to do, then you've removed its purpose. It's just something you do You do it for a purpose. That's it. You have to acknowledge why you do it and what's the purpose of it. And therefore, meaning what is the purpose? The purpose is that the Islam is supposed to manifest itself on your life, and you want to do that. You want to be the Muslim. So then, if it shouldn't be, I have to do salah. The issue is, I want to do more of anything. I want to do this because this is what makes me who I am. This is what makes me I mean, look at the word Muslim. Muslim means submission to Allah. So by being Muslim, we are saying we are the people who submit our own wills and our own desires to Allah. So if you're moaning about it, how's that submission? How are you really submitting yourself to Allah when you're moaning about it? When it's a chore, when it's a hassle to you, how is that really submitted? It's like I mean that's why Allah. Look at it. Allah said in the Quran, وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفْ. Allah said in the Quran, don't say to your parents, "Uff."
Yes.
Mom said to
roll
go make
your
a tea,
eyes.
you're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, when you roll your eyes at your parents for them asking you to do something, you're saying, I don't want to do this. And I'm informing you in my actions, I don't want to do this. And I'm telling you that I think you don't even deserve my attention and my efforts and what I'm doing. You don't deserve my time. That's it, basically. You don't deserve my time.
Yes, yeah. I've got more important things to do.
I've got more important things to do than what you're asking me to do. So when Muslims see the salah, the prayer, as a chore, and they're giving the salah I've got to do another salah. Essentially, that's what they're doing. They're saying, I ain't got time for this thing, but I'm doing it as a formality, and that is borderline. That is something a person really needs to look internally. What is it?
Yes.
I mean, even something as small as like I remember one time. It happens a few times actually. I was in my salah praying, and I obviously have my watch on my wrist.
Yeah.
And I get the Shaitan comes to you and says to tell you to do things, do this, do that. So I had the inclination to have a look at the time. What time is it? And then I stopped myself and I thought to myself, but why is it important? I'm not going to stop my salah, whatever the time is. So why look at the time?
Yes. Yeah.
Whatever the time, looking at the time will do for me. What will only make sense when I finish my salah. It makes no sense whatsoever looking at the time when I'm in the middle of salah. Because if I look at the time and the time is now X amount of time, am I going to stop my salah? No. Am I going to rush my salah? If that's the answer, then don't look at your salah. Don't look at your time. If it's going to cause you to rush your salah, don't look at your time. I don't mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that someone's doing their sunnahs in the train station, waiting for the train to come, and they want to know when the train. I'm not. Let's not go into the extreme weird example. I'm talking about your fard salah that you have to pray 5 times a day, and you're doing it at a normal time, and this is the time you have to do it. Why are we distracting ourselves by looking at the time? Or someone texts you and you quickly glance at your watch, what's the text message? Or who's calling you? All these things that are distractions away from what you're doing. And essentially you're saying to yourself internally, and you're teaching yourself these lessons that is more important than my salah. And this is where we need to flip the switch. This is the first stage of a Muslim. I want to become Muslim. What's my first thing I need to do as a Muslim? I need to take this shahada, say the sentence. And after I said the sentence, I'll need to flip the switch. I need to make my salah more important than anything else. Not the
Than
other way around.
anything
Not
else.
everything else is here and the salah is down here. I need to flip the switch. The salah is the most important thing. So if your boss says to you, you can't pray at work, go pray at home, hand in your resignation. Meaning, either you let me pray, which is no reason why you can't let me pray, it takes 5 minutes, or I can't do this job because my salah is more important than my job to you. There's no circumstance that allows you to pray your salah. That's like God.
That's a good point, because for a new Muslim, or any Muslim, the difficulties of establishing the salah in a Christian country, they're going to come up with issues. But from experience, most workplaces or most environments will accommodate a Muslim praying, and I think most non-Muslims will feel it very hard to say no, you can't pray. Do you get what I'm saying? They'll feel a bit okay. There's an office there, pray in the corridor. So that's one thing, is being able to have that relationship with your employment, for them to say, all right, fine, you want to pray, no problem. But on the flip side, you have to then give back to your employer. Don't take the mick. Like, don't do your 4 sunnahs before Dhuhr, 2 sunnahs after Dhuhr, because obviously the issue is, well, what are other workers going to say, because you're taking X amount of time off to pray? How can someone get this balance? So someone's a new Muslim, has to go and pray, obviously going to have a relationship with his work colleague. How should they kind of deal with this issue of trying to establish prayer in his workplace?
So this is where knowledge comes into play. Where knowledge is so key as a Muslim. And this is why we say that knowledge precedes speech and action. Knowledge comes first before what you say and what you do. Normally, people have these issues when they don't know what to do. They don't know. They basically don't have knowledge. Why do I say that? If someone had knowledge of how to deal with the situation, you would know that the Salah, the 5 daily prayers, your Fajr, your Dhuhr, your Asr, Maghrib, these are obligatory. They supersede everything. Yeah? Meaning you can't pray them outside of their time. But it doesn't mean you must pray them when you want to pray them. It means pray them within that time frame. Meaning, Dhuhr time comes in, let's say at 11:30. And Dhuhr time ends, or the Dhuhr prayer ends, let's say at 2:30. Yeah, 8:30, 11:30, 2:30. Now, you have lunch at 1 o'clock, a whole hour, lunch at 1 o'clock. But you say to your boss, I need to pray at 12 because Dhuhr just come in. So you take 5 minutes off to pray. Why? You didn't need to do that. Yeah, I just said to you, your Salah is more important than everything else. But now, when you look at what Islam orders you to do, Islam says you have this time frame to pray. Any time within that time frame you can pray. You can fulfill both obligations. And this is where Islam is very important. Islam basically says to you, if you can fulfill both obligations, you must. So what's your first obligation? Your time. You've signed a contract with your employer that you're going to give them your time. That's now an obligation, a religious obligation, by the way. It's not just a dunya obligation. You sign a contract as a Muslim, and you've given them your word. So as a Muslim, you need to fulfill your word. You're going to give them your time in this contract, as much as you are able. So if you can pray your Salah in your own time, that doesn't interfere with their time, then that's the way you combine 2 obligations. Now, in Islam, again, we also have a fiqh of, if you can't fulfill both obligations, you can't do both things, then you put forward that which is more important. So I need to fulfill my role with my boss, but I also need to pray at Dhuhr time, and I can't do both at the same time. So I need to prioritize one over the other. So I say, okay, boss, John, Bill, whatever my boss's name, I need 5 minutes. So you get your sajada and you pray and you get back to work. So basically you take the minimum amount of time from work to fulfill your salah and then you get back to work. Now, doing your sunnahs, doing your extra salah, is that an obligation? No, it's not. So you can't nullify your obligation to your employer for something which is not even an obligation. This is how you have fiqh, you have understanding of the religion, and you don't essentially take the mick. I had one guy after Jummah Salah, he came to ask me, he said, look, brother, I'm working in the city of London, and it's very difficult for me to pray, I'm always fighting my boss to give me time to go to the masjid to pray and so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So I said to him, why do you have to go
I must go to
anywhere
the
to pray?
masjid, half an hour down the road.
I said, you don't have to, you can just get your prayer mat, put it
Yeah, I
on the
get it.
floor, right next to your desk, and pray. I mean, even some people go as far as find the corridor, down the road, go to the prayer. You don't have to do any of that. You can literally take your prayer mat with you to work. If you work a desk job, you put your prayer mat, you put your desk, your chair into your desk, put your salah the mat on the floor. You pray at your desk, and you can get back to work. The most you might have to do is go to the toilet to make the wudu, and then come back, and then you pray. As for this idea that you have to go, leave your desk on floor 1, go on the lift, go up to the 15th floor on your building, then go and spend half an hour in the prayer room. You got to wait for the other guys to come to make a little mini jama'ah, and then after you got to do sunnah, and you come back half an hour. All the stuff. Now what you're doing all these other sunnah things
Yes.
that you don't need to do, and you're not fulfilling your obligation. Now, you may have a job that has flexi time where you can make up the hours after. Okay, fair enough. Now you can combine between the two. Now you can say to your boss, I'm gonna take half an hour now. I'm gonna work half an hour after. And the boss will like it. Cool. Do you need to do? Because the employment already is flexi. But some employment is not flexi. Some employment, like for example, help desk. Help desk is, I mean, mushkil. You work from 9 to 5. Someone needs to be manning the phones. You're not at the phone. You don't have flexi time. So you need to take the minimum amount of time to fulfill your obligations, and then you can get back to your what you need to do. It's not.
Also, the point of just so that there is no problem is whatever time you do take off for the salah, say that you'll add it on at the end of the day. So if you need 20, I don't know, half an hour throughout the whole day to pray, offer that half an hour at the end of the day, so that there's no mushkila between you and your employer.
Yeah, I mean, you can work around these things if the boss allows it. But I was just saying in terms of some employment, you don't have that option. Like I said, help desk. They don't want you after 5 o'clock because after 5 the phones are closed anyway.
Yes,
so it depends on. Or maybe what you can do, you can maybe say to them, look, I'll come in 15 minutes before lunch is over, or something. You could do something. You could do that, if they allow that. But not every employment necessarily allows that. Like for example, security. I don't know if that's a good example, but imagine you got one guy comes in at one shift and you leave at that shift and whatnot. You can't continue because then they'll have 2 employees doing the same shift. No, they don't want that.
Yeah,
I'm saying. So it depends. But yeah, so that's the gospel, the issue of that pillar, the second pillar of Islam, of Salah. Salah, the obligatory Salah is a must, and it is, I would say, the key on the doorway to the rest of your Islam. If you do that, then everything else inshallah will fall into place. If you don't do that, I can't see much coming good out of your attempt at Islam.
Excellent. I think just as a brief introduction to the pillars. So okay, we've spoken about that. Now let's go on to the issue of the zakat, Sheikh. What is zakat? How much is it, and what is the aim of it?
So zakat is a simple one, and what's beautiful about the zakat is that it's not like what Christians might call the tithes or whatever it is, or other kind of donations and other religions. So a lot of other religions and denominations, they have their charity, but the charity tends to go towards the establishment, to the church, to the synagogue. Just the other day, actually, a friend of mine who does the accounts for a synagogue, he's Muslim, but does the accounts for a synagogue. Accounts do that, innit? And apparently they have the synagogue has a subscription of like in a four-figure subscription yearly. I'm not saying what the figure is, but every year you pay an X amount, 4 figures per person to the synagogue, and which covers whatever services, and then top of that. But Islam, that's not how it works. There's no subscription we pay towards the imam or to the mosque or to anything like that. We don't. That's not what we do. There is a percentage of your savings. If your savings is more than 3.5 grand in pounds, but it's based on gold, so depending on inflation, it could be higher. But based on the price of gold, that works out to be today 3.5 grand. If you have 3.5 grand in your bank sitting there doing nothing for a whole year, not touched, then you pay 2.5% of that savings to one of the 8 categories mentioned in the Quran of those who deserve of zakat, which is the poor and the needy and the traveler and so on and so forth. Even those who are in debt or whatnot. So you use that money to help out others in the system. Like I mentioned, we're cogs, we're having pieces in the system. We use that 2.5% to help other pieces of the system. You don't use it to go and support what's it called, imams, and to go and support this and that. I use it to support the people in the community. We don't use it. You don't use it to pay for leaders to go and have holidays and whatnot. It doesn't go to the government. It goes to those in need. Now, some countries, Muslim countries, they've institutionalized this whereby they take the zakat and they give it to it. They direct it to where it needs to go to other categories. But you don't have to give it to them. If you've proven that you've done it yourself, then that's sufficient. The point is, it goes to these needy categories, and these needy categories are predefined in Islam.
Can you go for them roughly?
By the way, it's only if... Go on.
Can you go for those categories quickly?
Those there are two types of poor. So those are really, really poor, the faqir, and those who are poor but not so poor, the miskin. Then there are those who are in debt, and they can't pay off their debts. It can be used to help them pay off their debts. Then there's those who are slaves who try to buy their freedom but have difficulty in buying their own freedom. They can be used to purchase their freedom. Then it goes towards what's called mu'allafati qulubuhum, as in to go and bring people closer to Islam. It can be used to that purpose. Also, fi sabilillah, to help support the propagation of Islam through jihad, obviously. And then also, and after that, also,
Traveller?
Ibn Sabil, that's it. Ibn Sabil, yeah, wayfarer. Those who have, and again, what is a traveller? It means someone who has travelled from one location to another, but his zad, his provision for his travels has run out. So an example of that would be, in our day, someone who has got to a petrol station to top up his petrol, but he's discovered that his car is being declined or whatnot, and he has no way of getting money to top his car up. He'll be eligible for zakat to help get him petrol to go to continue his journey where he needs to go. So and finally, those who collect the zakat. So those who have taken out their time to collect the zakat from you to give it to one of the other 8 categories, that job itself gets paid. So that's the only category of people who are people who technically could even be rich, but it's in order for the system to function of zakat. As in, if there's going to be people going around collecting the zakat to give it to the other categories, that's now wage labor, really. That's being paid, remunerated for your action and to facilitate the function. If they weren't paid and it's all charitable, then it's unlikely someone would come forward to do that role. Now, could you do that role free of charge? You could, but if you want to be paid for your time, you could. And this is why I don't agree with this whole idea, this slogan people have where they say, "Oh, 100% donations go to charity." That's a slogan. It's just a slogan. There's nothing wrong with paying your employees to do charitable work. If that's the case as zakat, then that should be the same with all charities. But that's how it works in Islam. So it doesn't go to, like I said, to build grand mosques that are large and colourful like that. You don't pay zakat all these kind of projects. That zakat go to the needy.
So just to summarize, so for example, if you have 3.5 grand in your bank, anything over 3,500 that you've had for a year. So say you've had, for example, 3,600. You then pay 2.5% of £100.
No,
you pay
2.5% of everything.
Of the whole 3,600.
Yeah, the whole plot. Yeah, the whole pot.
If you've had that in your bank for 1 year.
Yeah, basically, ideally, we've had this discussion before. You shouldn't keep money in the bank, but putting that aside, ideally, wherever your money is kept, if your net wealth, doesn't go below that threshold, then you count a year from that moment. So if you had like £3,500, and throughout that year there was a time when you spent it all, and then you got it back again a week later, then you start from that week later. You don't ignore that dip. That dip means you lost that money. You're no longer in the category. When you go back up to 3,500, then you start counting from that day onwards again. What some people do, they pay zakat every Ramadan. That's not what you do. There are poor people throughout the year, not just in Ramadan time. So you start counting from the year you get the threshold, and you mark that date in the Islamic calendar as your date that you pay zakat on the Islamic calendar.
Got you. Got you.
And that's it. It's just straightforward, and you pay on everything you have at the moment. So there's no need for an accountant, no need to do any. All you do is whatever you want to have at that date. Doesn't matter what you had the day before. Doesn't matter what you had the day after. On that day, what's the price you have on that day? You pay zakat on that.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we've got 10 minutes, so let's speak about Ramadan, the month of fasting. What is
actually, in the line of the 5 pillars,
yes,
Hajj comes before Ramadan.
Fadl Sheikh.
So Hajj is something every Muslim must do at least once in their life. Hajj and Umrah, and generally people don't really speak about it too often because it's an annual thing, and it's only if you have the money to do so. And it don't just mean that the money to pay for a ticket. It means the money for you to do the Hajj, and the money for your family who left behind to look after themselves. So that whole thing. So when you have that, then you pay. Then
it becomes an obligation upon you. It becomes an obligation upon you.
Yeah. Then it becomes an obligation to you make the Hajj, and it becomes an obligation you to make the Hajj on that year. So it's not like you can do it. Oh, I'll do it next year. No, if you have the money right now, you must make Hajj right now, as in when it comes. So Hajj now is in August time. I think August, July time.
Around
so
that, yeah.
if June comes and you have the means, book a ticket.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean, oh, I need to wait next year until I can book a higher package. No, if you can only afford the basic package, do the basic package. If you can make it, make it. So there's not much to really talk about that one. It's just a rites of Islam, the Hajj they must do. And basically, what you do in the Hajj is reenact some of the events that happened to Prophet Abraham all those centuries ago with his son and so on and so forth. And that's it.
I mean, Hajj now is about £5,000 ish, 4,000, 3,000. You shouldn't go. You shouldn't need to go into debt to do Hajj. It should be money that you should have.
It's actually the opposite. If you have debt, you have to actually ask permission from those from your debtors.
Yeah.
If you can even make the Hajj. So if you have debt, imagine you owe someone money. You have to actually ask them, look, brother, I know I owe you money, but can I make Hajj? If they say yes, then you make Hajj. If they say, wait, what happened to my money? How are you making Hajj, spending $5,000 and you owe me money? Then pay off your debt first. So that's what it is.
Excellent.
So you can't get into debt to pay for Hajj, and that's an unfortunate reality of life we live in now, where everyone lives on debt and credit. No, Islam encourages us to live out of credit and not in debt. We don't live in debt. We live according to our means, according to our savings.
I mean, and the point is that it's not obligatory for you to go unless, as you said, you've got no debt and you're able to leave money for your family. It's easy, basically. It's an ease for you. It shouldn't stress you out, basically.
It's a financial ease, yes. Is it not that it's easy? Hajj is not easy, but it's not a financial. It's a financial ease for yes.
Excellent. Okay. Now we can go on to the Siyam, Ramadan, inshallah.
And then the last one, which is fasting in the month of Ramadan, and the month of Ramadan we do once a year. We fast. That is essentially a lesson for you as a Muslim of sabr, delayed gratification. Can you delay your reward centers in your brain? Can you delay your reward centers in your brain every day for a month? So you're holding back from food, drink, and marital relations. You're holding back from all those things from sunrise to sunset every single day, and then you get rewarded at the end of the day. And on top of that, you get rewarded with Eid at the end of the month. If you can do that, essentially what you're doing is you're enacting. Listen carefully, everyone. This is a key point to take as we close the last couple of minutes. We are enacting our lives as Muslims. What does that mean? Our lives as a Muslim is to hold back our desires in this life, and then in order to get rewarded in the hereafter.
So
that is our lives.
That represents by the Eid. That's a representation of the Eid.
And that is a representation of our Eid, and also a representation of our fasting. Think of the day as your life. From sunrise when you are born up until sunset when you pass away. And then when you pass away, then you get Yawm al-Qiyamah, and then you get your Jannah, you get your reward when you break your fast. So your whole day is your life. And throughout your life, you're trying your best to resist all the temptation, resist all the sin, resist all the backbiting, resist all the namima and all the beef and the fighting and the argument. And then when you break your fast and when you die, when the time comes, you die, khalas. That record is now complete. You completed that day. Hopefully it was kept clean. And then you're now rewarded with your iftar. See, basically it's delayed gratification. This is what I'm saying. That's a lot. That Islam is not just an issue of rituals. Islam is a way of life that allows you to elevate yourself. Even the fasting, which people see as a chore and it's difficult, it's there to elevate you as an individual, make you a better person.
What is the mindset of someone? Because obviously, for someone who's fasting for the first time, what should their mindset? What they're trying to achieve out of this abstinence, this putting away their desires for food or relations? What they're trying to get out of it? What should their mindset be?
The primary mindset should be obedience. Why are you doing this? You are engaging in an exercise of obedience. That's what it is. You're engaging in an exercise of obedience to Allah. And it's the same obedience we are exercising throughout our lives.
Yeah.
It's just this one is a more visceral one. It's it's one you can actually taste it. You can actually feel it. You can feel it in your stomach. You can feel it in your belly.
Yeah.
You can feel it in your belly, man. So it's a visceral.
But like now, like for example, for myself, I look forward to Ramadan. It's like the whole year. You don't say your discipline goes or your iman goes down, and from the wear and tear of the dunya, and then this month it just stops you in your tracks. You just have your life turns around. You've got a new focus, and you're focused on obedience and worship. It's a case of purification. It's a case of focusing more on your reality or your framing.
And also, it's an opportunity to build new habits that will hopefully remain. That's another benefit a Muslim can get. We hope even that what good things we do during the month of Ramadan, we continue to do after. So if we want to do more charitable deeds in Ramadan, hopefully we continue doing charitable deeds after Ramadan. If we were praying the night prayer in Ramadan, hopefully we can continue that night prayer outside Ramadan. If we were being nice to our neighbors and smiling to everyone and being good and getting Fajr on time and praying all in Salah, all these things that we did in Ramadan, hopefully the idea is that we will continue these things after Ramadan.
Yeah. It's like a reset, you could say, a spiritual reset.
It's like a reset. Yeah. And like I said, that again, even in psychology, they say that habits normally take about 30 to 40 days to form.
Yeah.
So if we can build some good habits during that 30 to 40 days, that'd be great. That'd be great.
What are some of the expectations? Like, for example, obviously sometimes we just speak about, it's about abstaining from food, but also the point of giving up bad habits. I don't know, bad language, not listening to music, stop smoking. It's a kind of month to, start dropping the bad habits and carrying on with good habits. It's kind of like a spiritual reset, you could say.
And also another way you can look at it is another way to gauge your actual level, because we know that during that month of Ramadan that the shayateen are locked away.
Yes.
So whatever you're still doing is actually just now you. So if you can, it's almost like an opportunity to work hard without the hassle and struggle of the shayateen working on you, so that when they do come back, you come back stronger. So there's many benefits for Ramadan, but fundamentally at the base level, it's just obedience to Allah obedience to Allah during this period of time, which embodies our life of obedience to Allah as a whole.
Excellent. I don't know if I've got anything to add to that. Okay. Khalas, Sheikh. We finished 1 minute early. I see you got students coming in now, so I think we should stop there. But anyway, Sheikh, for that, I think that's an excellent way to summarize the 5 pillars. Hopefully next week we can speak about the 6 pillars of Iman. We spoke about the practical, the outward actions, you could say, and then next week, inshallah, we speak about the things that the Muslims have to believe in, things that we have to believe in our heart, inshallah. So once again, Sheikh, Jazakallah khair for your time, for your wisdom, your insight into this topic, and inshallah, I can't wait to see you next week, inshallah. Okay, Sheikh.
جزاك الله خير.
Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum.